At least 60% of students fail JAMB yearly, not because they are not intelligent, not because they are not serious. And you have heard some people say what they read didn't come out in their exam. This is because what you read might not be what JAMB actually wants you to read and know and understand for you to come and write the exam. And that is where the JAMB syllabus comes into play. And with me here is the updated JAMB syllabus for 2026. This is the updated JAMB syllabus for 2026. And in this video, we are going to be listing out the JAMB syllabus for 2026 when it comes to biology. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Basi Ejogba, and it's my channel. I help students level up their academic game. So if you have been looking for the perfect place to level up your game, then please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and also share this video to your friend so they can come here and get value. So like I said, with me here, we are going to be discussing the JAMB Biology syllabus. The syllabus is very, very important. If you check your textbook, I'm not with my textbook right here. If you check your textbook, you will get to find out a lot of topics that are in your textbook that might not be found in the JAMB syllabus. And one good thing about the JAMB syllabus is that it also gives you textbook recommendations you are supposed to follow. So at the back of the syllabus, you will get to see some of the textbooks that you are supposed to read when you are preparing for JAMB UTME. Textbooks like Senior Secondary School Biology, Essential Biology, Biology for Senior Secondary School Students, Essential Biology for Senior Secondary School Students, College Biology, Handbook of Practical Biology, and Biology for West African students. So these are basically the biology textbook you are supposed to read when you are preparing for JAMB UTME. But some students don't know, they just handpick any textbook they see in the library and they start using it to study for JAMB UTME, and at the end of the day they come out with a very poor result and they start blaming the system. Now when it comes to the JAMB syllabus, it is divided. When it comes to JAMB syllabus biology, it is divided into 5 sections, which is the ABCDE. Right, the ABCDE section. So we are going to be giving out a detailed syllabus starting with the section A. And the section A is simply the introduction when it comes to biology, which is the variety of organisms. So when it comes to section A, the section A is basically varieties of organisms, right? So take out your pen and make sure you follow up this. So this is basically the variety of organisms. And when it comes to the variety of organisms, there are some topics you are supposed to follow, right? There are some topics you are supposed to follow, and there are objectives you are supposed to get. That is what you are supposed to know when you study that particular topic. So the first topic here is living organisms. So when it comes to the varieties, the first topic here is living organisms, right? So the first topic here is living organisms. So when it comes to living organisms, it says that candidates should be able to differentiate between the characteristics of living and non-living things. The characteristics of what living and non-what living things. How you can be able to differentiate how this thing is what living and how this thing is what non-living. And that is basically the what Mr. Ninja did. I'm not here to teach, I'm just going to list out the syllabus. Mr. Ninja did that is movement, respiration, nutrition, irritability, growth, excretion, reproduction, and death. Right? So that is Mr. Ninja, which is the characteristics of what living what things. Also, you're supposed to understand that is still under living organisms. You're supposed to know also cell structure and functions of cell components, cell structures, right? The different cell structures and their what functions. So you have to identify the structures of what plant and what animal what cells. This you have to understand, or you have to give on the what. You have to tell us how the animal cells look like and also how the plant cells look like. Also, you have to also talk about the level of organizations, which is the cell, the tissue, the organ, and the system and the organism as a whole. So you have to analyze the functions of the components of plant and animal cells. You have to compare and construct the structure of plant and animal cells. You have to tell us the similarities and the differences between plant and animal cells. Those things that are similar in animal cells and those that are found in plant cells, right? Like the animal cells does not have a cell wall, while the plant cell have a cell wall. So these are the differences you are supposed to note. Also, you have to trace the level of organizations among organisms in their logical sequence in relation to the 5 levels of organizations of living organisms. You are supposed to know the 5 level of organization. So the 5 level of organization is simply the cell. So we have to know this, what a cell is all about. I know that the cell is basically the euglena and the parametrium, right? The cell is basically the euglena and the parametrium. We also have the tissue, which is the epithelial tissues, the connective tissues, nervous tissues, and we also have the hydra, right? We also have the organ, which is the onion bulb, right? The onion bulb is an organ. There are different organs, right? So we have our heart, we have our blood vessels, right? So when this heart and blood vessels coming together, that is what makes up a system. So you're also supposed to know the systems, which is the reproductive system, the circulatory system, the digestive systems, and the rest, and also the organisms, which is example Chlamydomonas, right? So that is basically what you're supposed to know when it comes to living organisms. Then the next topic under variety of organisms is evolution among the following. So we are going to be talking about evolution, and this is where we are going to be listing out the various kingdoms. So you have to know the evolution in Monera. You understand? Monera is a prokaryote. You're supposed to know that Monera is a prokaryote. Among the five kingdoms, you have to know that the only one that's a prokaryote is Monera. So you have to know Monera, which is a bacteria, and the blue-green algae. We have the protista. We have the fine fungi, which is also known as the mycota, and we have the kingdom plantae, and you know that the kingdom plantae is divided into bryophyta, tracheophyta, and we have the bryophyta, we have the tracheophyta, and we have the talophyta, right? So those are what you are supposed to know. You're also supposed to know, when we talk about the evolution between them, you're supposed to know that the talophyta and the bryophyta does not have any conducting vessels. So it does not take in water and food, and that is why they are very small, while the tracheophyta have conducting vessels. And when I talk about the conducting vessels, I am simply talking about the xylem and the phloem, right? So we are going to be discussing this in our class as we continue. And also, you are supposed to apply the knowledge of the life history to demonstrate gradual transition from life in water to life on land, right? So that is just how it is. So also talk about the petrophytes, yeah, the spermatophytes, the spermatophytes is the gymnosperms and the angiosperms, right? You have to know which one is female, you have to know which one is male. And also we have kingdom animalia. When it comes to the kingdom animalia, we have to know the invertebrate, right? Like the colenterata, the platyhelminths, the nematodes, the annelida, the arthropoda, and the mollusks. You're also supposed to know multicellular animals like the vertebrates. So first of all, you have to know what is vertebrate and invertebrate animals, right? So you have to know that. You have to know that invertebrate animals are animals without backbone, and vertebrate animals are animals with backbone. Also, the last topic here, I believe the last topic under this, yes, is structural, functional, and behavioral adaptations of organisms. So which is number 3, which is the structural. So we have the structural and functional. We have the structural, we have the functional, and behavioral adaptations. So these are the topics you are supposed to follow. And behavioral adaptations of organisms, and adaptation of organisms. Now, when it comes to you studying your textbook, you get to find that some of these topics are can get to see them, some of them in SS1, get to see some of them in SS2, get to see some of them in SS3. But I will advise you, when you are studying, please make sure you follow the syllabus back to back, the way it is. When you are reading SS1 work and it directs you to SS3, please make sure you move ahead to SS3 so that you can get to understand it. You understand? So you can really get to understand this. So when it comes to the structural, functional, and behavioral adaptations of organisms, simply says candidates should be able to describe how the various structures, functions, and behavior adapted by these organisms to their environment and their way of life, right? So under this structure and function and behavioral adaptations of organisms, don't forget we have adaptive coloration, right? Adaptive coloration, which is done by chameleons, right? So we have adaptive colorations, counter shading, right? We also have behavioral adaptations in social animals, and we also have structural adaptations in organisms, right? So that is basically how it is when it comes to the first topic, which is the variety of organisms. So the section B is forms and functions. So section B is going to be forms and functions, right? For the section B is simply forms and functions. So when it comes to the forms and functions, these are what you're supposed to know The first topic there is internal structure of plants and animal. So this is the first topic, which is internal structure of plants and animals. So you have to understand the structure of plants and what animals. So you have internal structure of plants and animals, and I already know that the internal structure of a flowering plant is simply the root, the stem, and the what, the leaves. So as a candidate, you should be able to identify the transverse sections of these organs. You have to also relate the structure of these organs to their functions. You also have to identify supporting tissues in plants like the collenchyma, the sclerenchyma, the xylem, and the phloem fibers, right? So you have to also describe the distribution of supporting tissues in roots, stem, and what, leaf. And also, still under the same internal structure of plant and animals, we have to understand the internal structure of mammals. So you have to examine the what arrangement of the what mammalian internal organs, and describe the appearance and position of the digestive, reproductive, and the what excretive what organs. The second topic here is nutrition. So this is the second topic, which is what, nutrition. And when it comes to nutrition, you simply know that there are two modes of nutrition, right? So the first mode of nutrition is autotrophic nutrition, and the second is what, heterotrophic. And you have to understand which apply to which. So autotrophic, you know, is for plants which they manufacture their own food using what, sunlight and water, which is basically photosynthesis. I have to also know that heterotrophic is for we mammals, because animals, right, we cannot what, produce our own what, food, so we depend directly or indirectly for what, plants. We also have to compare when it comes to this nutrition. Since I said there are two modes, we have the autotrophic. Now when it comes to the autotrophic, there are two types of autotrophic. We have the photosynthetic and we have the chemosynthetic. The photosynthetic involve photosynthesis, and the chemosynthetic simply means the breaking down of what, chemicals. So you have to also know the differences between these two, and where and how what it takes place. Also, when it comes to the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, you have to tell us what, you have to understand what is holozoic, you have to know what is saprophytic, you have to know what is carnivorous, and you also have to know what is yes, holozoic, parasitic, saprophytic, and what, carnivorous. And you have to also tell us, or you have to also understand, you are not telling us, you are supposed to also understand their what, nutritional what, value. Also, you have to learn about plant nutrition, which I have just talked about, photosynthesis and chemosynthesis. Also, animal nutrition. Also, food tests. You have to tell us, when it comes to, you have to understand food tests, the presence of what, starch, the presence of what, fat and oil, and the presence of what, protein in a food. How can we be able to test that there's carbohydrate in what, a food? Right, so don't forget that we will use what, our iodine, right, which is going to turn what, it's going to give us a blue-black coloration, which is what, iodine, and you automatically know that there's a presence of what, carbohydrate. So these are basically some of the tests you are supposed to know when it comes to food tests. You also have to know everything about the mammalian tooth. So your teeth, you're supposed to know everything about your teeth, their structures, the different types of teeth, and their what, functions. You also have to understand the mammalian alimentary canal. You also have to understand nutrition processes. Ingestion, when you take food, we have digestion, we have absorption, and we have also assimilation of this what, digested what, food. Also, the third topic there is transportation, that is transport. This is basically, you have to tell us, or you have to understand the need for transportation. Why does transportation take place in what, plants? Why does it take place in what, animals? Right. So this transportation, for me, I used to also call it circulation. For some textbook, you might not say transportation, you might simply say circulatory system. So you have to basically know that the circulatory system and the transportation aspect are related. You have to know the purpose of this word transportation, right? The materials for transportation, what are the materials that are being transported. You also have to tell us the channels for this transportation, also media and processes of mechanism for what, transportation. Then the fourth topic under forms and function is respiration. The fourth topic here you are supposed to understand is respiration. And under the respiration, you have to understand the respiratory organs and their surfaces. As a candidate, you should be able to explain the significance of respiration. You have to also describe a simplified outline of the chemical processes involved in glycolysis and Krebs cycle with reference to ATP what production. So that is adenosine triphosphate what production. You have to also tell us. I also tell us the mechanism of gaseous exchange in what plants and what animals. You have to also understand and be able to explain the difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic what respiration. And the last topic here, okay, it's not the last topic under this. We have excretion, that is number 5 topic. Under this, we have our excretion. So when it comes to excretion, I have to tell us the types of excretory surfaces, the type of excretory structures, that is the contractile vacuole, the flame cells, the nephridia, the Malpighian tubules, the kidney, the stoma, and the lenticel. The moment I say stoma, the stoma is found in plants, and the lenticel is also found in what? Plants, right? So we have the excreting mechanisms, which is done by the kidney, which is done by the skin, which is done by the what? Lungs, right? Also tell us the excreting products of what? Plants. You have to also be able to explain the excreting products of what? Plants. So that is just how it is. The 6th topic here is support and movement. So we have number 6, support and movement. So the number 6 topic here is support and movement. And under the support and movement, we have tropic, tactic, nastic, and sleep movement in plants, supporting tissues in animals, types and functions of the skeleton. You understand that we have 2 types of skeleton. We have the word exoskeleton, which is found outside, and we have the word endoskeleton, which is found what? Inside, as what? Humans, right? So the next topic there is reproduction. So that is number 7. So number 7 here, we are going to be having reproduction. So when it comes to the reproduction, you have to understand the 2 types of what? Reproduction, which is what? The asexual reproduction and the what? Sexual what? Reproduction. And the asexual reproduction, we have to understand the meaning of what? Asexual reproduction, which and the different types, which involves what? Binary fission, budding, natural or vegetative propagation, and artificial vegetative what? Propagation. Right? So you have to differentiate between the both of them. How can we apply natural vegetative propagation in crop production and multiplication? Also have to tell us about sexual reproduction in flowering plants, that is floral parts and their functions, pollinations and fertilization, products of sexual reproduction. Also, you have to talk about reproduction in mammals, which is structure and functions of the male and female reproductive organs, and fertilization and development, which is simply what? The fusion of what? Gametes, which is fertilization. Then the next topic, which is number 8, is growth. So number 8, which is the next topic there, is what? Growth. When it comes to growth, you have to know the meaning of growth and germination of seeds and conditions, the conditions that are necessary for germination of seed to take place. That is basically what? Growth. The 9th topic here is coordination and control. So the moment I say coordination, the first thing that is supposed to come to your mind should be about the nervous systems. So we have coordination and what? Control. So this is basically the nervous what? Coordination, the component structure and functions of the central nervous system. As a candidate, you should be able to apply the knowledge of the structure and function of the central nervous system in coordination of the body functions in organisms. Right? We are trying to see how we can move faster. You have to also know the sense organ, the skin, the nose, the tongue, the eye, and the word ear. We also have to understand hormonal controls, which is the word? The pituitary hormones, the thyroid, the parathyroid, the adrenal gland, the pancreas, and the gonads. Also have to know about plant what? Hormones and homeostasis, which is the what? Body what? Balance. Right? So these are the 9 topics you are supposed to know in this particular section, which is forms and what? Functions. We are going to be talking about the section C, which is about ecology. So section C is ecology. So under ecology, there are also some topics you are supposed to know, which is number 1, factors affecting the distribution of organisms. So we have 1, distribution of what? Organisms. So you have to understand the factors that is affecting the distribution of what? Organisms. So you have to first of all know that there are two factors, which is the what biotic and abiotic what factors, the living factors and the non-living what factors. You have to relate the effect of temperature, rainfall, relative humidity, wind speed and direction, altitude, and salinity. There are a lot of them, right? Which all these are abiotic what factors, right? And also how the behaviors, activities of what animals and what plants also affect what distribution. That is the what biotic. So the second topic here is symbiotic what interactions of what plants and animals. So we have symbiotic interactions of plants and what animals. So we have symbiotic interactions of plants and animals. Symbiotic interaction of plants and what animals. So first of all, you have to understand the energy flow in the ecosystem. That is the food chain, the food web, and the what trophic what levels. You have to determine appropriate examples of symbiosis, parasitism, saprophytism, commensalism, mutualism, amensalism, competition, predation, and cooperation among what organisms. You have to also understand the carbon cycle, the water cycle, and the nitrogen what cycle, and describe them, and also tell us their roles of bacteria and leguminous plants in the cycling of nitrogen. So when it comes to nitrogen, you have to know this azobacter, nitrobacter, nitrogen fixation, and the rest. These are the basic things you are supposed to know. Then the third topic there is natural habitat. So we have the third topic, which is what the natural was habitat. So you have the natural habitat. So when it comes to the natural habitat, we have the aquatic habitat, which is the pond, the streams, the lakes, seashores, and mangroves. So you have to associate plants and animals with each of these habitats. Do animals live in water? They have to tell us which kind of animals live in this water. You understand? So that is basically what they want you to know. Also talk about Nigeria local biomes. So we have local biomes, and you basically know the meaning of a biome. A biome is a natural occurring ecosystem. So you have to know local Nigeria biomes, which is a tropical rainforest, the Guinea savanna, the Sudan savanna, the desert, and the highlands of montane forest, and the grassland of Obudu, Jos, Mambila, and plateaus, right? The next topic, which is number 5, is ecology of population. So I will just say population, since everything here is about ecology. So we basically say population. So you have to study the population density and overcrowding. We also talk about the adaptations or survival. We also talk about factors affecting population sizes, and also ecological succession, which is the primary succession, and also the secondary succession, right? We also have the sixth topic there, which is soil. We have soil. So you have to also talk about the characteristics of different types of soil, the sandy, loamy, and the clay soil, right? Soil structures, the porosity, the capillarity, and their humus content. You also have to talk about the components of these various soil, their inorganic components, their organic components, the soil organisms, the soil water, soil air, right? Also have to talk about soil fertility and the rest of them. Then the seventh topic there, which happens to be the last, is human and environment. So we have number 7, which is human and environment. So you have human and environment. So when it comes to the human environment, you have to study diseases, common diseases, and endemic diseases. You have to also study easily transmittable disease. So this is basically talking about diseases, right? When it comes to the human and the environment. When we talk about the environment, it's like conservation of natural resources, the game reserves, and national parks. So we are just talking about the human environment, also talking about factors, things that affect human in its environment. So this is basically everything you're supposed to know in this particular section, which is the section C, which is focusing on ecology. Let's talk about the next section, which is section D. And section D is very interesting, and it contains just 2 topics. So we have D here. It is simply heredity and variation. So we have heredity and variation. This is a very interesting biology topic. So we have heredity and variation. So under the heredity and variation, the first topic there is variation in population. So you have number 1, variation in population. So you have variation in population. That is the first topic. And under variation in population, we have morphological what variation, and morphological variations in the physical appearance of individuals. Morphology is what we can see. So we have the human size, we have the height, that is the height and the weight, the color of the skin, the eye, the hair, and scales and feathers. So as candidates, you should be able to differentiate between continuous and discontinuous variations with what examples. Relate the role of environmental conditions, habitat, and the genetic constitution to what variation, right? And also talk about fingerprint. That is, all these are under the morphological what variation. Then we'll talk about the physiological variation. Physiological is inside, things we cannot what see. Things like, okay, ability to roll the tongue, ability to taste, PTC, which is the word phenylcarbamide, and also what our blood what groups. We have 4 blood groups. We have blood group A, we have blood group B, we have blood group AB, and we have a blood group what O. You are supposed to know which one is the what universal donor. Is blood group O the universal donor, which is what yes, and what blood group what AB is a universal what recipient, right? Also, you have to know that, I don't know, but you are supposed to know that although when I want to teach you, I'm going to teach you when we are talking about this, we are going to be discussing on why blood group O alone is not what a universal what donor. The blood group O standing alone is not a universal donor. The only universal donor is blood group what O resus D what negative. Although I don't know whether JAMB is going to test you in depthly, but for sure when I'm going to teach you, I'm going to what dig deep in order for you to what truly understand this. Then the next topic there is what heredity, right? So we have our what heredity. So when it comes to heredity, we are simply going to talk about what characters you can what inherit from your fathers and characters you cannot inherit from your parents, right? So determine heritable and what non-heritable what characters with what examples. Illustrate simple structures of what DNA. You must know the structures of what DNA and also the structure of what RNA. You also have to understand what chromosomes is all about. Now note, chromosomes, we cannot talk about heredity without talking about what chromosomes. So chromosomes is the basis of what heredity. You also have to know the structures of a chromosome and process whereby characters are transmitted from parent to what offspring. So you have to know what takes place so that character you are having, where it's being what transmitted what from hand, how what it came what about. Also have to know the applications of this heredity in agriculture and in medicine. And you also have to understand sex-linked characters like hemophilia and what color what blindness. So these are the things you are supposed to know when it comes to this section D, which is what heredity and what variation. So the last and not the least section, which is also of great interest, is what section E. And the section E is simply talking about what evolution. And there's just 2 topics also in this topic. There's 2 things you're supposed to know under this section, which is evolution, which is number 1, theories of evolution. So we have the theories of evolution. You already know the different theories of evolution. We have the Lamarckism theories of evolution. We have the Charles Darwinism theory of what evolution, and also the what organic theory of what evolution. So you have to relate organic evolution as the sum total of all adaptive changes that have taken place over a long period of time and stuff like that. And also number 2 is what evidence of what evolution. How can you prove that evolution have what taken what place, or evolution have taken place in that particular point in time. So these are the 2 topics you're supposed to know under this, right? Under this particular section, which is evolution, theories of evolution and evidence of evolution. That is just how it is. So friends, these are the topics, the 5 sections you are supposed to follow if you are preparing to score high as up to 320 in your JAMB UTME. You can also get a copy of the JAMB syllabus for the subject you are writing, be chemistry, physics, biology, English language, mathematics, government, and the rest of them. Your request for it in the comment section. I'm going to send you my WhatsApp number, chat me on WhatsApp, and you're going to get a copy of the JAMB syllabus for as low as 500 naira. If you find this video helpful, if you find it informative, please don't forget to hit on the red subscribe button, and also drop it in the comment section if you really enjoy it. And if there's any topic you want me to start treating immediately, feel free to drop your video request and I will make sure I will treat that particular topic. And until I see you in my next video, always remember that you're wonderful, always remember that you're unique, and always remember that you're a pace setter. I really love you. Thank you.